So this game came out 2 days ago. I already beat Sonic Frontiers. I have 15 hours sunk into the game. And you might be wondering, how did I beat it so fast? Because it's not a small game. And the answer is really simple. I don't have friends. Sonic Hedgehog. We all know him, so I'm not going to waste your time with the description of the history of the character and the franchise. We've all had internet access since the age of middle school. Don't pretend you haven't googled whatever your name is followed by the Hedgehog. Funnily enough, Sonic and I share a name, so I just get Sonic. Frontiers is the first game in the franchise to attempt to take on an open world. And while this world definitely is open, my script is given a compliment here, it isn't Sonic Forces? That's a bit harsh. I like this game. It isn't awful, but there are some very, very bizarre choices that make the game suffer overall. There are going to be spoilers throughout the video, but if there's something major, I'll let you know beforehand. Maybe don't open the world. Okay, I'm going to address a little bias here. I like open world games. Not a controversial take, I know, but it's important to mention because I don't really like the world in Sonic Frontiers. So there's not one, not two, but 5-ish islands in this game for you to roll around at the speed of sound in, and I really liked one of them. With the exception of Aranos Island, which is literally the last one, none of them stood out to me in any worthwhile measure. None of the first 4 islands felt like they had any real personality to me. Look, we got grass, sand, volcano, and hey guys, I think this is grass again. The final island is gorgeous though. Its immense fields of flowers were a visual treat to run through and made me want to slow down for a moment and just explore the island. Other than the theme of each island, there isn't much to set them apart from each other. I know this video isn't about Sonic's rich neighbor Mario, but this helps my argument, so just hear me out here. Each world in Mario Odyssey feels uniquely rich, and they're all dripping in atmosphere. Every secret on those maps feels incredibly personal to the world it's in, and there are little secrets everywhere. This game has ruins, and some more ruins, and I found a secret, but I don't think I was supposed to. Oh, we did it! We did it! It only took us a couple hours, gang, but we no-clipped. I think that if they would have done a little more to differentiate the worlds, it would have improved the game massively, but it isn't actively making it worse, so it isn't the biggest deal in the world. You don't start with a full map, obviously. For those, you're going to have to find these map markers. Unlocking the portion of the map you're in requires you to solve some puzzles in the nearby area. Some of them are locked to certain times of day, and some of them don't look like puzzles until you cycle loop around something in the environment. For the most part, there isn't really much to do on each island except pick up the memory fragments, solve the map puzzles, and complete the occasional 2D level. I want you to take a look at this map here. Seems like there's a whole lot going on, right? You see all these hearts? These are just pickups. Let's remove them from the map for you. This is a map marker. These 2 little guys give you upgrades. These are 2D levels. This is a fishing game that breaks progression. Don't worry, we're gonna talk about it. And these are where you find the Chaos Emeralds for the main story. Speaking of the main story, that's also sort of what these Amy heads are. Some of these are stupid, like 60%, 70. Okay, well maybe 80. The map is extremely vacant is my point. My favorite part of any open world game is falling in love with the open world. This might sound contradictory in a video about Sonic the Hedgehog, but in games like these, I want to like the world. I want to slow down every now and again and admire the beauty in the world that's in my hands. But in this game, I sort of just wanted to zip through everything to see the weird story. I hardly ever wanted to take in the environment around me. To give the devs some credit, there's a lot of platforming you can do out in the open world, and running around these segments is actually pretty fun. There's something that's just very enjoyable about blitzing from the center of a map to another corner in the blink of an eye. Oh, I should probably talk about the gameplay, huh? The gameplay loop. So as Mr. Sonic Marius Hedgehog, you sprint around the island to collect the memories of your friends, beating mini-bosses to collect portal gears, and using those portal gears to play 2D levels and collect keys for hitting certain objectives, unless you want to go fishing. Once you grab enough of all of these, you can run into your friends like 7 times per person, and then move on to the big boss in the area. Collecting memories is simple enough. They're normally sort of just out in the open. On occasion, you'll have to do a side loop around a marked pole, or sometimes they'll drop when you kill an enemy, but the game gives you a pretty healthy amount casually. And I know what you're thinking, and no, I didn't draw a dig with the side loop. Wait, what even is that? It's definitely the most "we needed to give this game a gimmick" thing in the title. You draw a circle around something and it does damage. You might have noticed I forgot to mention these red markers on the map, but no I didn't, shut up. These markers represent mini-boss fights that can be anywhere from pretty enjoyable to you aren't even trying to attack me, what are you doing? I'm over here standing still, can you attack? Each island has their own unique bosses that are pretty fun to see the first time, and some of them are legitimately a little challenging before you figure out the gimmick. Even if that gimmick is making it take 5 minutes of boosting to reach them, but let's not worry about that. While we're here, I really think this combat needed to be reworked a bit, difficulty-wise. Playing the hardest difficulty doesn't really provide a challenge, and that's because of the skill tree. Some of these abilities are incredibly busted and make the game 100 times easier than it already was. This one and this one do absurd damage with essentially no effort being put in. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, that's just 2 abilities. The skill tree can't be that bad. But this ability here automatically combos each insane ability you get into each other. So you just don't need to do anything other than mashing X. If that's too difficult for you, there's also a parry mechanic, but it requires literally 0 timing. You just hold the bumpers on your controller, freeze in place, and negate an incoming attack. You can also hold this button indefinitely because apparently Sonic can just levitate now. When you defeat one of these bosses, you'll get something called a portal gear, which you take over to these things to play the cyberspace levels. These are unironically well done, with a great spread of level design. We've got 2D, we've got boost arrow type levels, and we've got some more traditional 3D platforming. These levels range from hold the right trigger and you'll be fine to I've been trying to get S rank on this level for 20 minutes, I'm 1 second over time, please! By completing certain challenges in the cyberspace, you'll collect these keys, which are used to collect the Chaos Emeralds. But if you're a real man, and I mean a real alpha gamer, you'll use the portal gear to unlock the fishing minigame. Huh? So while you're running around, you might notice these purple coins, which you can use to talk to Big the Cat. Hey, didn't Mario Odyssey also have purple coins? Big will let you use his fishing hole, give you money depending on what you fish up, and then sell you stuff while staring into what must be the void. This is how you can legitimately skip 90% of the game. Big's shop sells everything I just mentioned, the memories, the portal gears, and the keys. There isn't a limit to these purchases either, or if there is, I didn't hit it. So theoretically, you can infinitely farm the 3. Once you collect 6 Chaos Emeralds and talk to your friends enough, you have to play a pinball game that this ancient society built. To be fair, you only do it once, and it took me longer than the boss fight that it unlocked. After all of that, you can finally access where the real boss is, and these fights are the highlights of the game for me. If you don't want spoilers for the boss fights, like mechanics-wise, you don't want to see what moves they use, then you should probably skip to here. The first 3 main bosses are really fun actually. We got Giganto, Slifer the Sky Dragon, and a Rat Bastard on wheels. All these fights have some banger-ass songs, by the way. Oh! This isn't a Nintendo game! I can play the music! The first boss is a great introduction to how these segments work, and watching Super Sonic beat the shit out of a giant is objectively really cool, and they start getting pretty saucy with it later in the game. Like, come on. You can't tell me Sonic doing this Metal Gear shit isn't sick. Plus the Shin Godzilla phases of the boss fights are pretty fun. Even if, again, you can sleep through all of these and still win the fight. Man, I can't wait for the final boss fight to see what insane stuff goes down. I'm about to spoil the final boss of the game. I'm serious. If you really care about it, can you please skip? Okay, I hope you're gone. Why is the final boss fight a game of Galaga? Why is the final boss fight a game of Galaga? Words legitimately cannot express to you how stupid this is. I was so hyped to see what patterns the final boss had, and the Gundam fight was really fun. But the final boss is a game of Galaga? And yes, I know, cyberspace blah blah blah, so it makes sense that it's a hacking minigame, but this is such a baffling decision. It genuinely tanked the ending of the game for me. How absurd. Hey non-spoiler people, welcome back. Just as a last note before we move on, I felt that the controls were pretty tight. I had a great time playing, and when I had a problem, I found out that you can tweak these settings pretty freely, although I didn't have to. The soundtrack in this game is also pretty hit or miss, to be frank. While you're in the overworld, you'll get music like this. And in the cyberspace levels, you'll get things like this. It doesn't hit the incredible highs of the Crush 40 era of Sonic music, but this OST works phenomenally well. Without going too much into detail, the story itself isn't bad. The way they choose to deliver it, however, doesn't really work for me. I think somewhere around Island 4 it starts to pick up tremendously though. And I love the sheer absurdity of Sonic lore, that's why I played these games. If the development of the story in the past had been split more evenly throughout the game as opposed to just the last 2 islands and the flashbacks you get after a boss fight, I think it would have been way more effective in getting me invested. As is though, the Kronos, Ares, and the 3rd island, whose name I totally know, don't do much for you story-wise. I think that overall though, this is in fact a good game. Looking around at the community, there are a lot of conflicting opinions on it. Everyone's treating it as a love it or hate it thing, and that's dumb. I can honestly say I had a great time with it. It isn't the holy grail that's going to redeem Sonic as a franchise, and by no means is it perfect, but there's really something here. This is something like a blueprint for what could be a top-notch game, and I for one would love to see that game come someday. As a final suggestion for that next game, please fix Sonic's voice.
Whoa, whoa,
Thank you so much for watching the video. This is my first time reviewing a game this way, so if you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments so I can make sure to do it more often. Also, make sure you leave a like and subscribe today. It's the best way to support the channel and the growing community we have here. Plus, it'd be really cool. I've got some more stuff to go work on, so I'm gonna get out of here, but I'll see you in the next one. Peace.